Everyone,
Oh
welcome to a
no.
very special episode of the Innovators
You
Mindset
pushed
Podcast.
you pushed record before you came on. Screw it.
How you like
Oh, this
that?
is the worst. I I should have known. I should have known. I should have
That's
known. I heard
three
the
minutes.
record go. Listen, I heard the record go, and I'm like, why would he record before we talk? And then there it is.
There it
There's the
is.
answer. This is the worst. This is
This
the
is the
worst.
best. I was just reading Joe's new book, Lead from Who You Are, and this is who I am. I'm a diehard Bears fan,
You're, that's who you
and
are
this
now.
is a
You haven't
moment.
talked about the Bears for 10 years. And then
This is
all of a sudden,
Hey
now all
man,
of a sudden.
listen, I am wearing a William Refrigerator Perry. It's
That's
been a
because
while.
that's the last time they were relevant, George. That's
That's right.
85,
I
man.
apologize. Sorry. For those of you
Listen,
watching,
you're gonna play one more game than the Packers this year. You're gonna play one more game.
for
That's
the
what this is.
what that is, you're right. One more game than the
One more.
Packers.
That's
It
it.
does,
That's one more.
if
And
you would have
usually
won,
this like God, I
for
hate
those
this.
for those of you who are listening, both Joe and I, if you're not viewing this, both Joe and I are wearing Bears stuff right now because Joe has lost. Hey, I got okay. Now, all jokes aside, I am sitting here reading your book. It's awesome, man.
Yeah.
It's very,
Thank you.
very good.
Thank you.
I really, really there's a couple stories that stuck out with me, and being the competitive person that I am, I have actually there's no reviews on it yet. This is how new it's out. So you're
Yeah.
listening to this. I'm like, I gotta be first. So I'm hoping for that. And you're lucky the Bears won because that's why you got a 5-star review. Isn't that how it goes?
That's
Is that
exactly right. That's
yeah?
what I told you last week when I reviewed yours that I did it before the game because if it was after the game, I
I
wouldn't have done
apologize.
it.
I'm sorry, my man. So
No,
this
you're
is
not. No, you're not.
you
Don't
know
do
what?
that. You're not sorry at all.
It is listen, Joe. I was just reading this book and these little interactions. How do I want to show up? And I want to show up wearing bear stuff because I know
Yes,
this
you
is gonna
do.
stick with you.
Well, yeah, I'm
It's gonna stick with
sweating
you.
over here. I am
Sorry.
sweating. This is
I'm not. I'm
ridiculous.
not.
Yeah.
I'm not. So hey,
Oh man.
I got a couple quotes that I highlighted. I'm like seriously,
Okay.
I've been reading your entire book. It's awesome,
Thank you.
man. It's really good,
Thank
and
you.
I really connected. The thing that stuck out to me is the pause. I know this is like, and I wrote about this in the review. The pause.
Mhm.
And really kind of just now for those of you, Joe does have a new book out. It's called Lead from Who You Are: The Personal, People, and Process Rhythms of Meaningful Leadership. And you know, Joe, you actually do you know you're on my podcast on YouTube? I don't even know how to change it. You're on my thumbnail. I don't even know how. It just is. So, but you know
Oh,
what? I'm gonna figure it out. I'm going to ChatGPT. New thumbnail. Be wearing the bear stuff. Just so you know,
that
it's
sounds like
coming.
a great idea. That sounds.
Okay, before I ask you
See if
questions,
Chappy Teeth can change my outfit too, if they could. Please put me in.
oh,
Don't put me in Packer
don't
stuff right now,
worry.
though.
It's already happening. It's already happening. So 2026 Super Bowl Bears leading
Oh, for
championship.
the love
Let's
of
go.
Pete! My
Let's go.
gosh,
So
gosh.
I do like it. You like how I even changed the theme music, right? You love it.
I
Everything.
did. I heard that you guys. It was I. And the funniest part was I told you like, hey, we can do this earlier if you want. You're like, yeah, 3 minutes. So you
Three
did all of
minutes.
this like in 3 minutes, which
Yep.
is
I had to pull
essentially
out my
the only
jersey.
amount of time that the Bears had that game in hand last week was about for 3 minutes. So not even.
You're welcome.
They didn't. They ran no offensive plays with a lead, George.
Just hold
Not
on.
one.
Just hold on
Not
one second.
one.
Just gotta get
Oh
that
God.
picture. That's even better. So before I ask you some questions, tell
Yeah.
us a little about the book. Tell us about the
Yeah.
book. And I like I said, I love it. It's great, man. It's
Thank
really,
you.
really good. You should be
Thank
very,
you.
very proud.
Thank you. So I appreciate it. And so, the interesting thing is I started thinking about these leadership rhythms for a long time now. And the thing was, I was always really bad at them as a leader. Like if there was a lot of energy in the room, then all of a sudden I would be really high energy. And then if something was really bad, I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is the worst. What's going to happen? And so trying to find the rhythm in the middle where the reaction to the situation wasn't dependent on the energy in the room at the time was really, really impactful, I think. And I think I started doing a lot better as I went on. And I think this is one of the things that people aren't talking about a lot is really the rhythms of how do we stay grounded when all of the other things are coming at us at like 90 miles an hour. And so I started thinking about it, and ironically, the reason that it kind of got to this place in the last 6 months and really kind of putting it forward was I got a call from a friend of mine who was writing a book for speech and language pathologists, and asked me to contribute to that. And I thought, okay, I don't know anything about speech and language pathologists, but he said the leadership stuff that we did in Lead from Where You Are would be really helpful. So I started thinking about that and then how we could do it across different organizations. And I kept thinking to myself, I keep thinking about positions as opposed to leading from a core set of values, no matter where you're at. And that kind of gave me the push to be like, okay, so if we can really talk about the rhythms, I think people are going to be in a better place if they can ground themselves when everything else is chaotic.
Well, there is like something I say, and you and I both work with groups pretty extensively. And
Hmm.
the thing I always say to people is that the worst thing you can say out of today is you go back and say, "Hey, I saw someone speak from Canada.
Yeah.
Here's a bunch of stuff you're gonna do." Right?
Right.
And that's often what we do. It's like, "Hey, we're just gonna dump this," but really, and I think that's one of the things I really appreciate with your book. It's really kind of looking internally and the presence that you have in a room, and it's a little interactions. The
Hmm.
one thing that and I really appreciate about this. I'm going to share this. You sent a just you lit up my kids, by the way, when you were here, and it was really great to
Thank you.
see. And it was pretty funny. You sent the video after the Bears won. Just so you know.
You've never used that
No, I can't hear
roadcaster,
you. What? I
that
can't hear you.
podcast.
I
Yeah.
can't hear you.
How often do you actually use the roadcaster thing that you have right in front of
I
you? How
use
often
one.
do you actually
I use one button, but
one button? Yeah, now you use two.
now I
Okay,
use
all
two.
right.
So the thing you sent a message to my daughter about not
Yeah,
cheering and for the Packers, and one of the things that I always try to say is like my goal in life is trying to be the best interaction of every person's day. And I've failed
yeah.
miserably. I know you've failed miserably,
Hmm.
right? And but it's something that really, like even though you fail, you keep trying it. You keep trying it.
Correct.
Keep
Yeah.
keep doing that too. And there is a part in the book where you shared where you were struggling a little bit and kind of off. And you actually, it was interesting. You said, "This is amazing." By the way, I've had this book for about an hour and I've read the whole thing.
Thank you. I appreciate
Right.
that.
So,
Yeah.
so you talked about going, I don't even have this written in front of me. You talked about going from high energy to no energy, not low energy, but
Yeah.
no energy. And there is
None.
a student interaction too.
Hmm.
Can you just talk about that for a second? Because I thought that was a really powerful part of the book.
Yeah, I think that the big part about it was the fact that if you're one thing in one place and then not that in another, then all of a
Mhm.
sudden people start to wonder how you're going to be, how you're going to respond. And so when the environment really takes the thing about that too, that interaction was like it was I was just in a spot, but I wasn't present in the spot. So when a kid says to me, he comes in, he's bouncing around, and he's like, I said, "Hey buddy, how you doing?" And he goes, "Why aren't you so glad to see me?" And I said, "I'm really glad to see you." He goes, "Well, you didn't say anything." And so, like, because that's
Good.
how he experienced me at the beginning of the day when he came in. I'd always tell him I'm really glad to see him. So when I didn't lead with that, he's like, "What's going on?"
Mhm.
And so I think when the environment takes you over, when you're not present in it, and then you don't, the thing about it, George, that's really interesting, and I think you believe this too when you're talking about being, there for everybody, is you're not going to get all of them right. But when you concentrate on them, you get more of them right than you miss. And I think that's all we can do
Yep.
is just try to give ourselves the best chance possible.
Well, you go in, you talk to groups. I do the same thing. You probably get the same question like, "Hey, we're like really jazzed up today. Like, we're
Yeah.
excited. How do we keep this going?" And one
Right.
of the piece of advice I always give is like, one of the reasons, and you talk quite a bit about this, is that I go into classrooms all the time. And
Mhm.
it's not just so that they see me, but I feed off that energy. And kids will
Absolutely.
do that stuff. And they build, like, even when they say, I taught elementary forever. And if you had a zit, you're going to hear about it. Like any flaw was happening that day, they tell you. And it was like kind of hilarious about it
Yeah.
to do it. But it is, that is the way for me, always keep up my energy, is to be present, to go into those spaces. And that's something that you talk about quite a bit in the book, is that idea of like being present in those spaces where it is just what you do, not,
Right.
and I always talk about this, the superintendent entourage. And I know you don't do
Yeah.
that, but it's
Oh,
like the once in a while you bring in board members, everyone
right.
pretends they're a certain way, and the
Right.
reason they act that way is because that when people perk up and start acting a totally different way, it's because you're not doing it enough. Like that tells you
Right.
something really quickly. So that I think that
Mhm.
really sticks out to me. I'm going to share a quote, and uh, this is this stuck to me, and I know this is a hard thing for everybody because this is I'm this way all the time. You shared this quote. The uncomfortable truth is that the negative voice almost always initially feels louder than the supportive one. So, can you
Mhm.
tell a little bit about that story and why you shared that quote? I think it's really, really powerful.
Yeah, I think the one thing that's important about that is that I think that's our how we internalize it, right? Like, we'll do 10 things, 9 things right, and the one thing that we miss, we
Yep.
spend all the time trying to think about why it was like that. And then so when we concentrate on that, we miss out on all of the other things. And I do this to myself all the time. And it's like I think the idea is like I was doing a keynote for a group and I told this story. And I got an email about the story. It's a story that I told. I mean, you've heard the story 5 times easily, and so I told the story, and then I got an email later in the evening from someone at the conference that said that they were very upset about the story because of a couple things, and I like looked at it. Now, the irony was I got an email earlier in the day from somebody who loved the conference, loved the keynote, and referenced the
Yeah.
story that the other person was upset about, the exact same story. So I mean, and they were in the same room. They just experienced it differently. But I spent so much time on that negative story. I crafted an email back to the person and I looked at it and I looked at it and I looked at it and I ran it by my wife. I said, "What do you think?" And then I looked at it again and then I sent it.
Yeah.
And with the other one, with the positive one, I'm like, "Hey, thanks. I had a great time. It was a blast." And it was
Right.
gone.
Right.
So I spent all this time thinking about how how I internalized what that was.
Well, and this is the same thing. You get 100 uh, surveys back on how you did.
Mhm.
One says, "I don't like it," and
Yeah.
you're like, "Oh, that one." Right, and
That guy.
you become obsessed with it, and
Yeah.
it is really hard to do. The trick that I've done, because I know, even this is, I think this is what I appreciate about you. Even though you say this right now, you're still, it's gonna bug you at some point too. Like, it's never
100%.
it is not like, hey, just never, but you have to like kind of figure out, and I think this is what you do really well in this book. You give some strategies like, hey, it's
Hmm.
still might bug me in the future. I still might have a little bit of a hard time with it. Here's some things to kind of consider. One of the things I always say is that like when I think about some stuff, if it really is bugging me, I'm like, if will this bug me 5 years from now? And if I the answer is no, then it shouldn't bug me 5 minutes from now.
You're
Right?
right,
Like,
right, right.
right. And so that's because you can linger on stuff. This has really kind of bothered me and share. I'm going to share a little bit of a longer passage
Okay.
from yours. So Joe wrote this: presence isn't about entering a room with authority. Presence is about entering a room with clarity about who you are and how you want people to feel when you arrive. It's a bridge between leading yourself and leading others. It's a moment when your identity becomes visible, when your values become felt, and when your consistency becomes the reason people trust you. The more intentional about who you are when you walk into the room, the more influence you'll have once you're in it. Presence like is everything, right? And it's the notion of like, are you a fountain or a drain? Like, do people
Yeah.
feel invigorated when they see you, or is it like, oh? And you talked about this kind of like, oh my god, like, oh my god, I don't like.
I'm a lot.
Yeah, this. Well, no, but no, you talk about the idea like when someone can walk in the room and it's
Yeah.
immediately
It's
people are terrified or
right.
bothered or upset or things like that too. So talk about that idea of presence and
Yeah.
why does it matter? Because like it is, people think it's a little thing. It's a huge thing. And the other thing
Right.
I love that you talked about is like we call things soft skills, but they're actually some of the most meaningful things, right? And so talk a little bit about that passage.
Yeah. Well, I think the big thing for me in that passage is talking about what are we doing before we get into the room? What kind of interactions do we have? So when we walk in the room, the reaction to the people in the room isn't like they're not bracing themselves. Or the other thing that happened, and I used to do this a lot, I'd walk into a room and the whole room would explode. Like kids would just go bananas and they'd be like, "Oh, he's
Yeah.
here. Let's go wrap around his
Right.
leg and talk about, and that wasn't doing anything
Yeah.
for the people. So if the thing is, if you walk into a room and your presence allows everybody in that room to continue doing exactly what they were doing because they're proud of what they were doing, or they don't feel like they're going to get knocked down for what they were doing, or they want to make sure that they talk about what they're doing or whatever, where it doesn't turn into something else,
Hmm.
then you've already won.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like all of the interactions that you have, they impact the next interaction, the reaction to the next interaction. So what are we doing to build momentum along the way? Because at some point you are going to walk into a room where there's not good news. And understand that, every time that you walk in, every time that you connect, it sets people up for the next interaction that you have and the reaction that they're going to have to that interaction. So I think the presence part of it is it's happening when you make the call, when you send a text, when you just stop along in the hallway just to say hi, all of those little connections. So, but the most important thing is when you walk in the room, can they be themselves? Because if they can't be themselves when you walk into the room, that speaks more about who you are, not who they are.
Yeah, and that interaction, I remember when I was a principal, or I think it was maybe a principal, assistant principal. I used to go pick up McDonald's first thing.
Yeah.
Not the best idea, but anyways, the person that worked at the drive-through, she
Mhm.
was the best, and it was like
Yeah.
it was like leadership. She's pumping me up, and then it was just way easier to go. And it's like every interaction, is exponential. And I think that's
Mhm.
really, really powerful. One of the things that really stuck out to me in the book was you talked about the idea of like being an like extender and like really
Mhm.
getting people to talk about that. But you also did it in the book. You referenced Sinead Bell, Jessica Cabine, Brad Gustafson. Why is that like? And I think that there is a power in that when you're sharing some of those stories. Like it's not just a Joe story; it is
Mhm.
kind of connected on that. Why was that so important to include in the book of like all these stories? And you talked about someone from Texas in a room. I think it was Angela was the name.
Mhm.
Why is that so important to share those stories?
Well, because there's a lot of people doing really great
Mm.
work. And
Yeah.
Jessica and Brad and Amber and like all these people are doing incredible things. And I think that they need to get not some recognition for it, but I think it was almost like you've really influenced me. So I want to make sure that I come from a place. If we're talking about leading from who you are,
Yeah.
who I am is built on people that have done, done the work and made the connections. And so I think more of it is really about making sure that we continue to give praise to the people who are continue to do the work. To be really honest.
It's interesting to think like I know it's like nobody likes Twitter anymore,
Yeah,
right? You would know most of those people if it wasn't for Twitter, right? Like,
yeah, 100%. I
which
wouldn't
is
know you.
which is really really weird to think about. And when you said that, I thought about you. Basically, we had access to all of these people, and that were doing great stuff, and you can learn from them. I think there was a little. Remember, it was like, oh, it's just like an echo chamber. I'm like, but a lot of
Mhm.
people are trying some new stuff, and maybe I need a little bit of an echo chamber because people are like, what is
Yeah,
George doing
because
here? And
right.
like you kind of feel in that space. So I think that really connected with me when you talked about that because when you just shared that because you do become, as cliche it is, the people you surround yourself with, and
Yeah.
they make you better. And so I really appreciate that. So last
So
question. Oh, go
tell
ahead.
me,
Go ahead.
hold on, but before we get to that part, do you
Yeah.
remember our first interaction? And I'm not
Do
going to
I?
put you on
No,
the
I
spot,
don't.
but
No, I
here,
don't.
okay, so it made a
I remember this
huge impact.
interaction.
Okay, all right, I knew that. You don't even remember where the button
You're
is.
gonna
You don't
remember
even
this
remember what the
interaction.
button is. Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
You don't
that's
even
good.
remember that. It's
I
ridiculous.
had to look it up.
Okay,
Like, which one is it?
so all right, so here's the thing. So we were at a conference. It was the ASCD conference, and we were going
Oh,
into I think Dave Burgess's
throwing me off.
yeah. And so no, this is great. This is great.
Okay, good.
I'm being honest about this. This is so we sit down in the front row, and it's just you and me there, and you introduce yourself to me, and and I and you asked me what I did, and I said that I'm a superintendent, and you said to me, you said, "How old are you?" And I
Okay.
said, I said, yeah, I said, I'm 35. He goes, man. And you said, man, that's incredible. And that's it. And I remember sitting next to you thinking, when you get acknowledged for doing the work, because I don't know how many superintendents you knew at that point or
Mm.
talked to at that point, but the fact that we then ended up sitting and talking and having more conversations beyond that. I mean, to the point that we're at today. That was one interaction, George, and it happened in a ballroom in
Right.
Chicago.
And then I crapped
And
on Dave Burgess in the session after, which,
I didn't know. I
oh
didn't
my
know.
God. That's what I was
Oh,
like,
you did? You did?
just, oh my God. Yeah, so if you want to pick up
That's
another
right.
book, Forward's Good, I tell that story.
That's so funny.
Even,
But that was the interaction,
Even
right?
Steven, even Steven. Oh my God. Well,
But
I'm glad I said one nice thing that day. So
you did, and it was like, and then we ended up going like to just a meetup after, and we sat and talked for a little bit more too. It was just one of those
appreciate
things
that.
where we just. But I remember that interaction, and George, that was like what 12,
16 years
at
ago.
least 10 years. It
16
it
years
was at
ago.
least, yeah.
Well, something like
So
that.
that's
Well,
a long
if
time.
you're
So
35, right? When you're
yeah,
51.
16 years. I'm 51.
Jeez. Look
Yeah,
at that. Look at that.
isn't
So,
that something?
all right. So, last question I got for you. So,
Okay.
this book is out in the world. This is, I think it's like February. So it's been out for a little while. What is your hope for this? Like, what do you hope actually people pick up this book? What do you hope this inspires?
The first thing I hope is that they read it and they're thinking, "Oh, I already do that. Oh, great, I already do that.
Mm,
I already do that," which is awesome because that means they're on the right track in terms of creating some momentum. But the other thing is the rhythms that we come into the day with impact not only the interactions that we have, but the organization that we lead. And we tried to model throughout the book that when you do things that are that get you to a place where you want to do them, that you want to get to the next day, all of a sudden it changes everything that you do. Like if the work that you do is manageable, if you can do it on your worst day, if
mm,
it's something that you can do on your worst day, then you're going to do it. If it's meaningful, it's going to connect to you as a person and your core values. And if it's magnetic, if it's something connected to what you've already done or what you're going to do in the future, now all of a sudden you can build without even thinking that you're building. And if you do that with your staff, if you do things that they can do on their
mm,
worst day, if
mhm.
it's meaningful to them as individuals and magnetic to something that you've already done, there's a much better likelihood that it's going to move forward.
So I'll give you a little feedback on that. I'm reading that and I'm like, I do that, but not. I
Mhm.
need to do it more because sometimes I think that's what really helped me is reading it is like, no, I do that, but sometimes I don't, and I need to
Right,
like make
right.
sure I do, like because
It's the consistency.
right.
Right?
Yeah,
Like that's
that's
the
what it
other
stuck
thing
out
that
to
we
me.
didn't teach. It's the consistency
Yeah,
that when you're like this as the leader, then it's like that thing where they're like, well, don't talk to him now. He just had a tough meeting with a parent, right?
right,
Or you should go talk to him now because they beat the Packers. So you should definitely go talk to him today. Like you're going to get anything you want today.
right.
If that's how we lead, we're setting ourselves up for some real trouble. Gee, another button,
I got two.
another
I got
button.
two
Of
buttons.
course you do.
Yeah,
Oh
I got like a
man.
little Joe track. It's just all
Yeah.
Joe stuff right there. So, all right,
I'm glad.
hey, man. So I just wanted to have you on the podcast,
Yeah,
and
thanks.
I really appreciate all that you do for people around the world. I'm going to tell you, this is the best compliment I give you. I appreciate all that you do for the world, but just you lighten up my kids, best thing. So
Yeah, thank you.
that
Thank
means
you.
everything to me. So I wish you success, and thanks for being on the podcast. Thanks for
Don't
being
push it.
so.
Don't push it.
Sorry, I had to do it. I had to do
Right.
it. The
So
new theme song for the Innovators Mindset
can
for at
I
least one day.
can I tell you this is the funniest thing about this whole podcast is when it airs, the Bears are going to be out.
Oh, because they'll want because this is actually after the Super Bowl. So I'm just saying they'll
Oh
be
yeah, for
out.
sure. Then oh, that's
They'll
right.
be
They'll be
out
getting ready for the draft. Trying to keep
celebrating.
Caleb Williams.
They'll be
Oh,
out
oh my gosh.
having
Okay.
parades.
Okay. All right.
Having
Okay. All right.
parades.
Is that parade going through Gary, Indiana, where the new stadium
You
is? Is that where
only
that's going?
listen. You only have we're almost the same age. I'm a year younger than you. You only got one
Yeah.
more championship than me in our lifetime. Don't. This hasn't been as dominant as you pretend, right? It's only one
That's
more.
true.
So,
That's true. It's true. It's true. All right. It's true. I hate that it's true, but it's true.
all right, everyone. Thanks so much, Joe.
Thanks, everyone.
Congratulations.
You're welcome.
I know
Thank
this
you.
book's going to make a huge impact. Have a wonderful day. Take care.